Welcome back to the Carvecast. We are now on episode 5 and definitely cracking through these episodes quickly. We've got one of my best friends, Molly, with us today. And Molly, probably the best way for me to introduce Molly is, in terms of being excitable about skiing, Molly's like the next one after me.
Yep.
Out of all of us. So she's going to be a great guest because when it builds up to like ski time, like we're going in a few weeks, the only person that I can kind of share that emotion with without really irritating them is Molly, because everyone else is just sick and tired of me going on and on about the fact that we're going to be going skiing very shortly. So yeah, that's why Molly's here. She's been on loads of ski trips with us. And in fact, probably the best thing to do, first of all, is I have this list that ChatGPT kindly created for me. I did none of this myself. But first of all, we just run through. Last week, we had the episode with Lila, which was fantastic, who is my daughter, by the way. If you haven't listened to that episode and you're either looking to take your children or you maybe even are a younger listener, have a listen to that, because that is quite interesting, listening to her take on skiing. And that went down really, really well. Thank you for all of the feedback on that. And also thank you for the questions. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments on YouTube or in the show notes. There's various ways to contact me, so you can do that if you're only listening on the podcast app or Spotify. And first of all, let's go through with Molly what your most recent ski trip was. Obviously I know, but let's go through it anyway. What was the last ski trip you did?
So I did Grindelwald with you guys over New Year.
Yeah. So Grindelwald over New Year.
I can never pronounce it properly. I'm like,
well,
is it Grindelwald? Is it Grindelwald?
If I call it anything other than Grindelwald, I feel awkward.
See, I can't say Grindelwald.
No, but I think that's how you're meant to say it. Grindelwald.
Yeah.
That's how they say it. And actually, if you pronounce it any other way to any of the Swiss people, they literally have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the listeners' sake, Grindelwald, Grindelwald, any other variation of that with our awkward accents is the same thing. But as part of that trip, we also did. Where else did we go on that trip?
Do you know what? I was trying to remember this the other day. We started
Gstaad.
We did Murren. Is it Murren?
Mürren, which is
that
part.
was on the last day, right?
Yeah, that is part of the Grindelwald ticket, the Jungfrau ticket.
I loved it there though. Although it's an extension of Grindelwald, I absolutely adored it. The runs there, I think it's my favourite run in the world I've ever done. Yeah.
In Mürren.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that a little bit later. So yeah, the last time that Molly went skiing was over New Year's. Obviously that was super busy as well, because it's one of the busiest weeks of the year. Yeah. In fact, the busiest week of the year is this week right now in terms of skiing. February. Yeah, because you've got all the French kids off, or a vast majority of them, plus the English as well.
This time last year was my first ski trip as an adult, and I was in Megève. Literally to the week, and that was carnage.
Megève or Megève?
Oh, it's the accent. It's cringing me out.
Okay, well hopefully everybody knows what we're talking about.
Potato.
Yeah, I might actually be going there in a couple of weeks as part of my tour that I'm going to do. But we'll come back to that a little bit later on. One of the ski trips that Molly and I did together last year, and there's a few, was the Three Valleys. And we are going back there in...
a few weeks' time.
Yeah. Is it 3 weeks on Saturday? No, 3 weeks on Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, 3 weeks on Monday, we are back in the Three Valleys for a whole 6 days of solid skiing. And Molly will tell you that, especially us two, when we go skiing, we are skiing from 9 to 5.
Yeah, full day on that first lift up there and being chased off the slopes coming home.
Yeah, and we have been removed from the slopes on a couple of occasions. In fact, in Zermatt, some of our friends had to be physically removed by a snowmobile.
I think that was before I got there. Yasmin and I
was
came
really?
out. Yeah, Yasmin and I got out on the Friday night, and I think it was on the Friday day that you all got chased off.
Yeah, so we don't do the whole 9 to 12 and then après for the rest of the day. We ski hardcore the whole entire time, and that is how much we love it. So Three Valleys was the last one. Three Valleys is also the next one for you, and we'll talk about these resorts like in a little bit more detail as we go through. We're in terms of the gear talk and the ski technique stuff, we're going to skip that unless Molly's got something she wants to say about that later on. We'll touch on that a bit later on. And we're going to go straight into what I call like destination spotlight. So we're going to talk about some of these venues that we've just mentioned in a little bit more detail to give you guys a completely different take on anything you will have heard so far from Molly's opinion. Because obviously if I say my favourite skiing resort in the world is Zermatt, Molly's might be something completely different, and probably is. And it's always interesting to hear why those things are the way you conceive them, because obviously it's completely objective, because mine is going to be completely different to Molly's, to Jade's, to Holly's, to all of our group. Everyone's is probably completely different to one another's. And not only that, I think as well, one thing I've learned, having done a ski resort and then gone back to it a certain period of time later, is that my opinion changes significantly because my ski ability changes.
Well, that's the thing with you as well. You've done pretty much all the resorts you've done repeatedly, so you've been several times to a lot of them, so you've not only got that when we go or when I've been over the last year or so, it's more, you know, it's needing that week away, the break from reality, going on your holiday, so there's that emotional connection to the holiday. So I know we're going to brush on it in a minute in terms of talking about your favourite place, but a lot of that comes with the memories that you're making.
True.
The fact that you're going to a resort, other than the Three Valleys, all of those resorts that I visited over the year, so I think this is going to be my 5th this year, other than Three Valleys, I've been there for the first time.
Yeah.
So for me, there's always that wow factor, whereas for you, you go back to the pool 2 or 3 times a year, so you don't only have that emotional factor you're taking into it when you're with your family and your friends, but then you're there to actually better your skills.
Yeah.
So you've seen it from both angles, there to focus, but then there to play as well.
Yeah, and sometimes as well, you have a day in a resort that you wouldn't necessarily consider your favourite, but it was such a special day that it heightens that resort in your memory banks.
Yeah,
do you get what I mean?
100%.
Like, I think that day we had in Murren, so the day we had in Mürren was at the end of about a 10-day trip where we started off in a very small resort called Metabf. We didn't ski it, but we messed around there on sleds, and it was just a cute place to go in the Jura Mountains. From there we went to Gustard, which is a very unique place, not only in terms of the town, which is, you know, literally like a billionaire's playground. I've never felt so poor in my whole entire life, to the actual ski area is really unique. I've never been anywhere like Gustard. It was all twists and turns and narrows and odd lift systems. It was a peculiar place, wasn't it? But you loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. But I love places with lots of little character, don't I?
Yeah.
I'll be on a chairlift pointing at this and pointing at that. Anything that's away from the norm, that's kind of my go-to.
Yeah, and Gustard is really off the norm because, like I said, the town itself is full of designer shops that are exorbitantly expensive. Not only just because the shops are expensive, but those shops are even more, they're expensive versions of those shops.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, all the restaurants in the town, everything is ridiculously expensive. I think we bought, at the end of the day, we went to like the cheapest restaurant, which was literally a fish and chip shop in the wall, or like a kebab shop in the wall.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And
the fries were 12 francs.
Yeah, I got a chicken burger and chips for 28 euros or something.
Yeah.
And that was me having a cheap dinner.
Yeah, and it wasn't great. And it's not euros, it's francs. And Swiss francs are basically the same as pounds.
Yeah,
so you're not even getting that euro discount.
No.
So it was exorbitantly expensive. The ski pass wasn't ridiculously expensive. I think it was about 70 francs for the day. And even though it's not the biggest resort, it's still a comprehensive resort.
Yeah, and I think the price with it as well, compared to other resorts throughout Europe, you think, oh, that is quite expensive for a one-day pass. But then actually, when you're in that area, the whole exclusive feel about it, you feel like you've got your value for money.
Yeah.
You feel like you've been almost given like a discounted ticket to live how the other half do.
Yeah, it is an extraordinary place, Gustard. If you've got extreme amounts of money, that is a wonderful place to go to. If you don't, then it's quite a good place to go to just to experience it for maybe a day if possible. But I do recommend you take packed lunch, packed dinner, and find a cheap hotel outside, because that place is like on a level that is Zermatt doesn't even come close to, or Courchevel. It's a whole new level of expensive.
Yeah.
But the the ski area in Gstaad, you arrive at the top. I don't know if you remember arriving on that very first gondola at the top, and it was just such a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
And all the runs there are very different to other resorts that I've been to. They're very twisty, turny, lots of narrow ones, lots of woodland ones. There's quite a few T-bars there as well, which is annoying, and they're very long and steep on some of them. Yeah, that day the snow was very hard pack, and because it was quite narrow and a lot of twisty turns, it wasn't really my cup of tea, and my daughter didn't really enjoy it that much because the snow quality, apart from at the very top, wasn't wonderful. But this was, by the way, in late December, so this is still quite early on in the season where that resort is not a particularly high one. So, you know, if you went there sort of late January, early February, maybe even into spring, I imagine that those conditions would be pretty amazing. And if you like Molly does, that real unique kind of area, it's really quite a special area compared to all the other places I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's really unique.
Yeah, so Gstaad is quite a special one. Just be warned, when you go to Gstaad, it has multiple areas and they're not connected by gondola. You have to connect them by driving. So the first car park we stopped at is a small area with a couple of lifts, but it's not connected to the main area. So we drove to the main area and went there. But there are other little individual areas that you can go to. It does get busy when you leave as well, and this wasn't even that much of a busy time of year. And a lot of people, believe it or not, have chauffeurs, don't they, pick them up?
Yeah.
Yeah, of which I've never seen before.
It's like being on another planet.
Yeah, G-Wagons, big Mercedes cars.
It's like the Beverly Hills of ski resorts.
Lots of Range Rovers.
Yeah.
All with chauffeur driven. You can clearly tell they're just getting picked up from their day out skiing. It's an incredible place. Every single ski outfit that you look at is not from Millets. It's quite...
Mountain Warehouse.
Yeah, it's not from those places. It is a very unique place. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, but don't leave at rush hour because we got gridlock coming out
yeah,
of it.
it's carnage, yeah.
And we were the very obvious tourists in the transit van.
Yeah,
and everyone else
we was in a
Range
transit
Rover.
van, so we stood out like a sore thumb with an English number plate. But there you go. So yeah, Gstaad, really special place. Definitely, if you get the opportunity, have a look at it, go there, but just bear in mind finances the whole way through that, even if it's just for a day.
Yeah.
Be warned. And then from there we went on to Grindelwald, which is just such a special place to me, and you can listen to that in previous episodes. But because it was your first time there, just tell about the experience of like driving into Grindelwald, like your sort of honest take on how you saw it, how it compares to other resorts.
It's very picturesque.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a lot bigger than I anticipated it to be. But I think that's because of where we'd been prior to Christmas when we did Zermatt. So I was expecting it more to be like that. So it's a lot bigger than I expected. But it's stunning. You feel very much like you're in a small town centre, but then you're surrounded by the most humongous scenes of just mountains and snow. It's stunning. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's funny as well because Molly and me have the same take on Grindelwald, that it's big and ridiculously picturesque, and we really like the high street as well, whereas Jade and Holly think it's very small and there's not much there. So it just shows how people have a different impression. I think it's quite big. Now, the nice thing about Grindelwald is it's not purpose built. That is just a village that has just grown and it became a ski village. It's not like Val Toren where they've just put a concrete jungle in the middle of the mountains. It is so beautiful, and the difference to me between...
It feels very livable there.
Yeah.
Like you do feel like people's lives are just ticking over there as normal, whereas other resorts we've been to, it does feel like, hi, we're in a ski town.
Yeah, whereas that just feels like a village where people ski, which makes it beautiful. And the other thing is, because it's not... The buildings are not high, they're just little shops down the side of a high street. It's just one single high street. The mountains feel like they are on top of you. They feel really imposing.
It's like they're watching you. It's like you're in this little world and they are the four walls that are surrounding you. It's quite amazing.
Whereas in France, you feel like everything's more vast, more like bowly, more spread out. And in Zermatt, because the high street is, the buildings on each side, they're quite tall. A lot of them are 2 or 3 stories tall. you don't get that imposing feeling. You just get the odd angle of absolute beauty.
I was going to say, I don't feel like in Zermatt you're even aware of the fact there's mountains around you.
No, unless you sort of look straight up the high street or you walk over one of the bridges with the river. You know, everywhere you look in Zermatt, if you just got out your camera without even looking at anything and just went click, it would be a beautiful photo. And Grindelwald...
Yeah, that is the difference.
Yeah.
Zermatt is your... When you see AI images of like a Christmas town or something like that, everything looks like log cabins lit up with fairy lights. Plus we were there and it snowed from start to finish of our trip pretty much, didn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas Grindelwald isn't quite like that. You very much do feel like you're on a high street with elements of ski resort, but it does just feel like you've turned up at a town and then you can ski.
Yeah, and with Grindelwald, much like most of the Swiss resorts, you have to get your gondola or your chairlift, whatever the case may be, train or in some cases vernacular, to the ski area before you can start skiing. Whereas a lot of the French resorts, you are more like skiing, ski out. Because Zermatt, Grindelwald, Gstaad, just Verbier even, they are all Swiss obviously, and they all require transport to your location in terms of gondola or whatever other type of chairlift transport before you can start skiing. Whereas Three Valleys, Les Arcs, Alpe d'Huez, and any other French places I've been to, that you are on the slope already, like, because these places are more purpose-built. And I think that's one of the differences between Switzerland, and France, is all these Swiss places, they seem to be, they've come about naturally, they weren't purpose-built. Whereas the ski resorts in France that I've been to, they're more, we need to we need to make it so people can stay in the mountains, so they just build something. Yeah. Which is a positive, is that you're there on top of it. There's no like walk to the gondola, get the gondola, which can be frustrating and hard work.
I have zero patience for it. I rearrange my skis every 5 seconds. They're on my shoulders, then I'm carrying them, then I'm dragging them.
Yeah, and there may be variances from that generalisation that I've made between France and Switzerland, but for all the ones that I've been to, that has definitely been the case. I haven't been to a French resort where you have to gondola up, although I suppose when we stayed in St Martin de Belleville, you had to gondola up there, but you could ski the whole way back. Do you know what I mean?
Because we literally were... Our balcony overlooked the run, didn't it? And there was the button lift, and then you had to walk over that run.
There was no ski down. There was only go up and come back down. Yeah. Right. So I suppose you could kind of compare that to like a Swiss place.
So I guess we were at the very bottom, weren't we?
Yeah, and Grindelwald. What about the ski areas? So you've got, first is what I would say is the nicest area personally. Then you've got,
that was the most breathtaking moment that I've had skiing.
In first.
When we went up that first gondola and chairlift and we came out on the top.
Yeah.
I can remember Holly saying to me in the morning before we got on the chairlift, she was like, Moles, you are going to absolutely be in your element and love this. So although Adam mentioned earlier, I love areas with lots of character, and I like the more valley runs that are small and quaint. But you get to the top of this run, again, I can't pronounce it. I just call it first, but it's actually what, Fierce?
Yeah, Fierce, that is probably the proper pronunciation. The reason I'm looking this up is because I've mentioned it a couple of times on this podcast, but basically when you arrive to the top of Fierce, the first lift, if you go up again, you go up on this lift called Oberjoch. Probably, again, the wrong pronunciation, but it's spelled Oberjoch with a CH, and you get on this chairlift and it takes you up, and the run at the top is like twice the width of both lanes on the M25. It's huge, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. I was speechless, and I still find it hard to actually explain it in words other than the fact it is just the most vast. The fact that the slope at the top even kind of descends is a little bit mind-blowing, because it's so wide, it just feels like you're on this playing field of snow. and it just, I think that was very different to any other runs that I've ever done. We've done lots of long runs, but in terms of the width, I was just like, woo!
Yeah, it is quite cool,
Feels
because
like
you can go
playground.
side to side and it's still fast, even if you're going from one side to the other. And that
the
is
snow quality as well. Can you
unreal.
just touch on the snow quality?
Unreal, yeah. This is the thing as well, and we'll probably talk about this in another episode, is just talking specifically about snow quality. When I first started skiing, actually, it was almost nice to not to be ignorant of snow quality, because you just skied what was in front of you. Whereas now,
That's how I learned.
I'm like
the worst week
a
learning.
royal family going to like McDonald's when it's hard pack, and I'm just turning my nose up.
He's not joking.
Yeah, I hate it. But Oberjoch is at 2,500 metres, and it starts off as this insanely wide blue that Molly's talking about. It's the widest slope I think I've ever seen. It goes on. It must go on for, I'm guessing, I don't know, 1,000 metres or something, something like that. And then it splits into, you can go take the blue, which sort of wanders its way down, and it's actually really quite a fun little route. And then it has this, that widens up again after it goes down. And then you have lots of rollers in first as well, don't you? Where you sort of go down really fast and then it bounces back up, like when you lose your tummy on
isn't there a red one that kind of meets it halfway, and then they all just kind of collide into this chaos of you're not quite sure what you're on, and I just love it.
Yeah, and then you go down from that and you can pick the red or the blue. The red actually is not very hard there, but they're both nice to do. I'd recommend doing both of them. And then from there you can just take this really beautiful blue that goes all the way down to a place called Shrekfield, which is where that little restaurant was. That if you go out the back of it with all the deck chairs, that's where the cows were. You know, the plastic cows.
Has tea break in the morning.
Yeah, there's this huge cavernous like drop, and it's one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen in all of the mountains. It is absolutely stunning. In that area as well, they've got other things you can do. The the thing where you lay on it.
Flying zip line.
The zip lines, all that kind of stuff as well, which actually is included in your ticket. And then from there, there's loads of little chairlifts that go up, isn't there? And you can take all these different routes.
Is this where where you veer off to the left and you've got the avalanche route, or you have the red that I went down and stacked it on?
Yeah, be warned, there is, because they want there to be a blue connecting, there's one element of the blue, and it is absurd. It's more like a black, isn't it? That blue that came down off that where you...
Yeah, so you go, there's kind of like this valley, how would you describe it? It's where you're on the ledge, and you're on the edge of the valley, and you go round and you follow it down.
It's like a cat track, basically.
Yeah, so you can go down there, but that's where the majority of people go. But there was, for 2 or 3 days, it was actually blocked off because of an avalanche. Avalanche, it wasn't some monstrosity. It was kind of a few slabs of snow that had slidden. But of course, health and safety. So they'd blocked it off. But the only other option that you've got is down a blue, but it's basically a black.
It's
and
horrendous.
Holly and I did it one day. And I stupidly decided to go off-piste and try and do a jump. And I bit off way more than I could chew and ended up like a sack of potatoes at the bottom of it. But then we did it for the rest of the week, and I think a few people walked around the side by the avalanche, didn't they?
They might have done, yeah.
I didn't have the patience, and I wasn't carrying my skis, so I was like, sink or swim, I'll see you at the bottom.
But for the most part, that whole area of first, the reds and the blues are mostly okay for pretty much everybody. There is one red, which is the beginning of the main valley run, which is the one where Jenny slid the whole way down, which was my sister. She literally slid top to bottom. If you want to see it, you can find it on my Instagram or TikTok.
This was when, so Adam and Jenny's mum and dad had come up to join us all for lunch, and then it was, we haven't got many days left. Really, you were saying, I really want mum and dad to see us all ski. So Deb and George, Adam's mum and dad, are stood at the top of this chaotic run, waiting to film and get footage of everyone skiing down, and there was no skiing involved. It was all just everyone sliding down.
Well, the lucky thing was there was a big drop off on one of them, so that so my mum and dad, it looked like we all skied off and were amazing. No. But as soon as we got over the top of that, because my sister and my nephew, it was literally their second or third day ever skiing in their lives, and this is quite a hard red run, especially with the snow quality the way it was. From there on, they just slid down the whole thing, and it was a bit of a rescue operation.
The funniest. half an hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Imaginable.
But then that whole valley run, which is a red run, all the way down into Grindelwald, literally, which was open the whole way. Right towards the bottom, there's a place called the bus stop, which is like an old bus, and they've turned it into a bar, and it's just a really cool spot.
Very chilled. Yeah, a little bit of music, hot drinks, cold drinks.
Yeah, such a nice spot. So that whole area of First, I just think that's incredible. If you're a beginner who has maybe been on 1 or 2 trips before, you can definitely do the blues there. If you're someone who's done a few more trips than that or has spent a bit more time practicing, you can do the reds there as well, and the whole valley run. Now, then you've got the Wengen area, which includes like Kleine Scheidegg and Mannlichen. And over on that area, the snow quality is not as good, I think, because that is north facing and First is south facing, I think, or the other way around. And but what an area though. Like when we skied around there, where they do the racing, and we went all past the grandstand, all through them little slopes, and we stopped on the. It was just unreal, wasn't it? That whole day. Oh, we went through the town.
Wasn't that the day
that
I had a problem with my skis?
Yeah.
So I'd taken my skis to one of the local ski shops to have them waxed and sorted because they were a little bit scratched. And I got replacement skis, and I think talking about quality of skis and ski fitting and boot fitting would be a really interesting pod to do one week as well. But I like to think, I mean, I'm by no means an advanced skier, but I can ski, and I'm a confident skier as well. I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie. So with me, there's never really an element of fear or panic, but it was the first time in my ski career, or whatever you want to call it, my ski journey, to which I've had tears in my eyes. And I can remember looking at Adam and I was like, I just want to go home. I felt like someone had removed my legs and replaced something else that I had no control over. So for me, I'll dip out this day, because for me
they gave her some really tough, like I think they were more for men really than someone. Molly's very slight,
heavier, more advanced man.
Yeah, they were not the right ones, so she really struggled that day. But just that whole area is unreal. You ski through towns, like you ski through Wengen, which is just beautiful, right through the town itself. On the way, there's some just unreal like hotels that are right on the mountains. You've got the beautiful Eiger Express train
we went
that
over,
runs.
We crossed the track.
Yeah,
with that.
We had lunch there. What a beautiful area. That whole place of Grindelwald is just a stunning, incredible place to go to. And if you ever get the chance to go there around New Year's, that I wouldn't recommend, because it is busy at New Year's, very busy. Although we never waited that long. It was just more the slopes were busy.
I think that day was the only day that we had any queues, and actually it was lunch. When Holly and I had taken a packed lunch, and you and Jade had ordered in the restaurant. I think we were with Mai that day, weren't we?
Yeah.
And that was, but then again, that could have just been the restaurant that we were stopped at. But in terms of waiting for anything
we never really wait. I'll tell you why though, because the infrastructure, as per most Swiss resorts, is just out of this world. Yeah. It's all brand new, it's all super modern, huge amounts of capacity. But the lovely thing is on New Year's, and that's the second time we've done it now, is when you come back into Grindelwald Grindelwald Terminal Station. Not only is it just an insanely beautiful valley run, but when you get there, it's just a big party going on, and it's just the most wonderful atmosphere. And you ski into the party, and it's just unreal.
Yeah, that is. And you know what? It really is one of those moments of, oh, I need a drink, because as you come out of that valley run, it must be 600 meters of just completely flat. I think it's just a path covered in snow, but everyone
it's down the side of a river.
Yeah, and everyone kind of like slides and tries, skating in their skis. Again, I bought admission and threw them over my shoulder and marched back. But as you come down off that, you come down this little bridge over the river, and you arrive actually at this train terminal where there's all these. They've been before, but this was my first year, and it was just one of those goosebump moments where you've got all the blue, pink, purple, like neon lights and loud music, and it just the spirit. It's just unmatched.
Yeah, it is just there's just the most warmest, like friendliest, loveliest vibe in that whole place. It's the whole place in general, even on the slopes. I still think it's just one of the most politest, kind of nicest, most warm vibe places. But when you turn up on New Year's Eve in that train station and you ski into a party, It is just phenomenal. I can't explain it, but you should definitely try and give it a go if you can.
It's like that welcome home feeling. Like, you don't know anyone who's down there, but, you know, everyone's, as someone starts walking or skiing over the bridge, you know, everyone sort of looks up and you can see everyone cheersing. It's amazing.
Yeah,
very,
it is
very
amazing.
unique.
Yeah, very. I've never heard of anything like that before. And then on our last day there, so part of the Jungfrau ticket is this place called Mürren, and you can either get the train there, which takes about an hour. You have to keep switching around a little, I think once or twice, or we drove and it's half an hour away, and there's massive car park. It's all very easy, right at the bottom of the steepest gondola in the world.
And the gondola was empty.
Yeah, there was no one. There was no one there. Literally no one there. I think people just don't go there because it's not connected to the other resorts.
And there's not really anything else around. So you drive to this massive car park.
There's no town or anything. Yeah, there's nothing there. Mind you, when you get up into Murren, how stunning is that little village? Do you remember you ski through it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
bizarre.
Never seen another place like that before. Pedestrian only. It's just insane.
Feels like you're inside a snow globe.
Yeah, it is ridiculously beautiful. That whole area of Murren, like Molly said, when Molly arrived, she literally said, "This is the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life." And we saw some mad things as well that day, because we saw that crazy rainbow thing. The weather was like the sun was phasing in and out, and just kept creating all these beautiful sort of patterns and snow shadows and all kinds of stuff. And the actual snow quality there was phenomenal. And the slopes were just so unique and fun and different.
And it really went from contrast of these tiny little meandering valley runs to suddenly, I did a reel of us skiing along, and it was to, what's the song? Life is a Highway.
Yeah.
Because it is just this, again, it's one of those runs that almost feels like it's flat with no descent, but you're somehow accelerating the whole way along it.
Yeah.
And it is just rolling up and down and up and down, and then it's just flat for miles, and it's...
And do you remember, it goes into those really narrow tree-lined runs?
Yeah.
And then you turn up in this, the most beautiful village you've ever seen in your whole entire life. It is like Molly said, the best way is you could definitely picture it in like a snow globe, or some Christmas ornament. And there they actually have a funicular. Do you remember, you get on the funicular and you can go back up again? You know, the train that's diagonal. Yeah, which I really didn't expect in that tiny little village. But yeah, what a place that whole place is. It's just off the chart. Highly recommend, and quite different to everywhere else as well. I'd say the whole resort. And then we won't go on about Zermatt, because we're going to do an episode, because so many of us went to Zermatt. We're going to do an episode on Zermatt with like 5 or 6, 7 of us, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But Zermatt, we went to the beginning of December, and we just had the most amazing time because there's like 10 of us. So we'll touch on Zermatt another time. But let's quickly talk about Three Valleys and our experience of the Three Valleys last year. We stayed in St Martin de Belleville, which we actually loved. It was perfect for us because we could ski into it. It was dead quiet. We don't really go out really of an evening, but there was like a little bar area as you skied back into or got the gondola back into, which was nice to have a little bit of après just before we went home.
Yeah, there was a few, wasn't there? There was the sports bar where we had that amazing meal. Then they've got, it's more kind of hotel bars that tend to extend out onto the snow. So that's where we'd pull into and have a drink after skiing.
But we loved Three Valleys, didn't we? Loved Three Valleys. We went round, we did every single valley, if you like, or town. We did Val Toren, Les Memoirs, Courchevel, St Martin de Belleville, and Meribel quite a lot. And we loved every part of it.
The best way to describe that week is spoilt for choice.
Yeah.
Because it's like, where are we going today?
Yeah, it's just so big.
Yeah.
It is just so vast there. And I'm so excited to go back, because when we went that year, none of us were as able as we are now. So this year we're going to really be able to enjoy it much more than we did when we went last time. We had to stick to certain colours for the most part, this, that and the other. This time we can just go wherever we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be so much fun. And we're faster, so we can cover more ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we went last time, these guys had obviously had their first ever ski trip over New Year at Grindelwald.
Yeah, Grindelwald, yeah.
And that was their first time ever skiing, and I think they had a lot of whiteout days as well, so there was a lot of fear factor still, and I wouldn't say there was much confidence, was there?
No.
And for me, I'd done a week, probably about 4 weeks, I think literally a month prior to that, I'd gone to Majev, or what's it, how, Majev?
Yeah, Majev, I don't know.
Same. And that had been my first week skiing. So, but the difference was for me, like what I was saying earlier, I'm quite fearless. I'll just get on with it, don't really care, which doesn't necessarily mean my technique's is good. But the snow that I'd had the week before on that previous trip was horrendous. I mean, you couldn't even describe it as snow. It was just slush. Then there was no slush. And a lot of the runs were pretty much like off vertical red runs. It was really, really hairy. So when I went to Three Valleys with you guys, it was both of our second trips, and we were all at completely different levels. But to you, it was like heaven. But for me, I was like, this is what snow feels like. And also the blue runs, it was such a breath of fresh air. And for you, so I was kind of like learning in reverse. I'd kind of learned how to slip slide and navigate my way down really hard runs.
Yeah.
So then coming to the Three Valleys, I was almost having to like unteach myself bad habits that I'd picked up. So I progressed almost in terms of like from a beginner again, whereas you guys were progressing from beginner to a little bit more confident. And we all complemented each other with our ability.
It was amazing.
And by the end of the week, when we got chased off, was it Jerusalem?
Yeah, Jerusalem, which is a famous run.
Long blue run. We were just absolutely flying.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those out of body experiences where we got to the bottom and thought, damn, did we just do that?
Yeah. And yeah, Molly is the most fearless one out of all of us. And if you want to see the consequences of Molly's fearlessness, you can watch my videos on TikTok or Instagram. Lots of Molly maybe being slightly overconfident and jumping and failing. But Molly's like the super fast, sliding around all over the place, just literally like pedal to the metal. Yeah, super fast. So whereas the rest of us were much more like careful and considered and not that way inclined at all. But what a great place to go to build your confidence, because there's so many amazing blue runs there.
Where is it? What's it? Is it Lehman Weir? The runs across the top.
Yeah, to Val Toren.
To Val Toren. So although I think we can both mutually agree, it's not our favourite resort. I had a great time skiing into Val Toren, but Lehman Weir, the runs up there are just unbelievable.
Yeah, those runs from around Lehman Weir and Val Toren are unreal. The problem is with Val Toren is A, it's ugly, and B, it has a different kind of it has different kind of clientele. There's much younger people there looking to party, stuff like that, and it's super busy. Yeah, no, not
we went up to the Folly Do, didn't we?
Yeah.
Jade and I went up there for an hour or two and slid back down.
Yeah, and it's but the actual runs around there are unreal. And actually, this time we didn't go to Arel last time, which is the hidden full valley over the other side. But this time we're definitely going to go to Arel, because I think that's going to be super quiet and super pretty over there as well.
I tell you what, Val Toren does have. Val Toren has good skiing for kids. Do you remember the fun park up at the top when we were doing all the little jumps with Roman? I think was our
all the little jumps and stuff. Yeah,
that's really good for kids if you want to do fun parks. And there's kind of this congregation in the middle where a lot of the different chairlifts kind of go up and down, but there's all these random mounds that aren't on the runs where you can do little jumps off the side.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's something for everyone in the Three Valleys because it's the biggest resort in the world. I mean, we're kind of stating the obvious, really. You would expect that because it is so insanely huge. Although what I will say is that what I found peculiar is when I went to Les Arcs, which is, even with La Plagne, like it's a bit like the Three Valleys, there's a couple of resorts stuck together. That area felt way bigger than the Three Valleys, but I don't know if that's because we were slightly contained and I was more focused on my skiing than the view.
We were also limited though. When we went to Three Valleys, we were there for 6 days. I think the last 2 days or 2.5 days, the wind was outrageous. So a lot of the chairlifts were closed.
True, yeah.
And we had a lot of the time we were skiing out there, I feel that we had white
out, yeah.
So Lila's confidence was knocked a little bit, particularly in the mornings.
Yeah.
But I feel like going back now, having conquered the whiteouts in Zermatt, and with your experience you've had over the last year, it's going to be a completely different experience.
Yeah, I'm super excited. And Courchevel is super special for just the reasons that it's just kind of otherworldly in terms of the sort of the expense of the shops there. But it's still a very small place, Courchevel, much smaller than you might imagine, but crazy with all the beautiful, expensive shops. Mirabel is more of like a natural, like ski village with all wooden buildings and stuff like that. Really, really pretty. Great areas for skiing for children. That was where you had like the where you spotted the animals in the park, and then you pressed the button and it made the noise. That was really cute for children. The runs in Courchevel, in my opinion, were probably my favourite in the whole place. They were just vast and wide and lots of variation, really pretty. But like Molly said, that area around Les Memoirs and Val Toren, there are some special runs up there.
You feel like you're on top of the world there. And we lucked out. That day was a bluebird day for us. I think we'd had snow that night and then woken up in the morning to crisp blue skies. The snow was fresh, and it just... And also the run, when we started that morning, there was no one else up there.
No.
That's what was so bizarre about it. You're in essentially the biggest ski resort, isn't it, in the world?
In the world, yeah.
But yeah, it never felt like that. Apart from Val Toren, skiing into Val Toren, it was like people were like ants. They were everywhere. Then in between that, in Mirabel, it didn't really feel like that until you came into where all the chairlifts were, because the chairlifts and the gondolas were...
Les Memoirs was dead.
Yeah.
St Martin de Belleville was empty. And actually that valley run back into St Martin de Belleville was a really fun run. We went we went in the last week of March. So by then it was warming up, it was getting slushy in the afternoons, and there was a few muddy patches on the way down to the valley. But actually...
No, it was a muddy run and there was a few patches of snow.
Okay, yeah, that's probably more fair.
Jade and Holly got the gondola back and they're actually filming from above, which was really cool, but it's just us kind of navigating around brown and white snow.
But do you know the funny thing was though, even though that it was that day, the entire rest of the resort in every single place except that run was immaculate.
Yeah.
The snow was phenomenal, apart from the fact that obviously from 2-3 o'clock or whatever it was onwards, it got slushy in the lower areas.
Slush, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I'm quite interested to see how, if it gets slushy again, how we get on with it. Now we've all got a lot more experience, because last year it was a bit of a pain in the backside, but this year I feel with the confidence you can enjoy it more, because it's just going to slow you down naturally and be softer, and it's got to be better than hard pack.
Watch this space, we're all going to come back with broken limbs.
Yeah, so we in less than 3 weeks now, I head out and I'm going to Le Jay, which is spelled Les Gets for those that don't know. I'm going to Val d'Isère, Teens. I'm going back to Saint Foy, and I'm doing some other places. I'm probably going to go back to Les Arcs for a day as well. I'm going to do some other places, and then we have a whole week in the Three Valleys, all of us together. So we might even do an episode of an evening over there one night and all be talking like whilst we're on the in our apartment.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, but if not, I'll do one when we get back, which will cover off the Three Valleys a little bit more. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of a different take on those areas from someone who loves skiing just as much as I do. And then the other thing I was going to ask, let's just go through. So out of all of the, I think I know what you're going to say, but out of all of the on-mountain restaurants we've ever been to, what one stands out as your favourite? Let me give you a prompt, because I think it will be the case. The one in Val Toren,
where we were outside and then went inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a place in Val Toren. I couldn't explain to you where it was or anything, but it's quite close to the main area. And outside it has this higher up bit, and then it's got glass all the way around it, and it's also got an indoor area. And wow, what a restaurant that is. One of my favourites as well. That place, really an unreal restaurant. The restaurants we went to in Courchevel.
Yeah. And it had,
Le Tremplin, I think it's called. You're talking about the white one at the very top.
Where we nearly burnt it down.
Yeah.
We got to the top of this chairlift, and I think it was the first whiteout day we'd had.
And it was cold.
Freezing, and we were soaking wet, and I think we'd all just gone, you know what, let's go inside for a hot chocolate. And all of us are stripping off all of our layers. And when I say we've taken over this restaurant, as in our stuff is spread out everywhere, we're can we open up this fireplace and hang our socks over the fireplace? And something fell off the fireplace, and the next thing you know, you've got like embers and there's ash all over the floor, and we're patting like all the fabric to stop it setting on fire.
I think it was one of our gloves.
A glove or a hat or something.
Yeah, so we nearly burnt down the...
And then we moved tables.
place.
We haven't even touched on the fact I got snow blindness. There's a story for another day. But so then we'd move tables to go upstairs to get away from the chaos downstairs. But then the whole surroundings was glass and I couldn't see because I'd given myself snow blindness. So then we moved to a third table. That food was unbelievable. And that was right at the top of, it was kind of right on the very edge of Mirabel before you go down into Courchevel, wasn't it?
Yeah, you'll find it. It's if you Google it, I'm sure you can find it. It's basically, it's like this, it's all white, this building, like bright white. It almost looks like it belongs on the Hamptons in the beach or something.
It looks like it should be in the Hamptons, but it's covered in snow.
Yeah, super pretty. And then of all of the resorts that you've been to, which one would you say is like got the most wow factor?
For the skiing or the resort?
Just for like the whole experience, everything wrapped up into one, the town, the skiing, everything about it. What one do you think, if you just took someone who'd been skiing loads of times but they hadn't been to this place that you're going to say, they would just be like, wow, that's special?
That?
I know they all are.
Someone who's skied before, they've done lots of places. I would say Zermatt, purely for just the wow factor of the town. That is like you're in this little Christmas fairy tale world. And
the fact that you can ski into Cervinia.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't even talked about that.
No.
Yeah, so you can.
We'll do that on the Zermatt
one. Some of the runs I absolutely adored, but also some of the runs I was only there. I think I only skied for 3 days. I did the Saturday, the Sunday, and the Monday. I was taking a long weekend from work, so I didn't get to do the full week like everyone else did. And a lot of the time that I was there, it was real whiteout. And on some of these Zermatt runs, I wouldn't say it threw my confidence, but I like to see where I'm going. I'm a sucker for a bluebird day. So for me, I would say there's other resorts that I prefer the runs, but for wow factor, all in all, if I could only probably go to one place again, it would be Zermatt, because I just think the town, it is. Yeah, beautiful.
I agree. That place is ridiculous. But then, out of all the places you've been, what place do you have memories of it just on the mountains themselves, of it just being sort of mind-blowingly beautiful in like a moment?
I would have to say Grindelwald.
Yeah, the Murren.
Mürren for that, but also that when you get at the top of first.
Yeah, it is spectacular.
And the funny thing about those, they're two completely different personalities in terms of the slopes, aren't they? Murren and that.
And can you remember a specific run that really like blew your mind and just made you think, oh my god, wow, this is like, I'm in dreamland right now, this is so much fun? If I prompt you with the Cervinia one.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, because that is it. There's a moment. I think the moment for me was the last day in Murren when we were going that one. I said that's like a highway, and there was this weird rainbow above us in the sky, and it was just this real surreal moment. And also, I think we were just knackered, weren't we? After 10 days, and skiing. Prior to Christmas, we'd also been in Zermatt, so it was a long trip. But the run from
Matterhorn Paradise
down to
Cervinia. It's outrageous.
And
honestly,
you just
guys.
Don't stop. And
one day you got to do that.
It's got every kind of characteristic, from a valley run to being on the peak of the mountain to suddenly being on a really wide area. There's a lot of it that is really steep, which I love a steep run. And then all of a sudden you're on this, what feels almost like a green run again. It doesn't feel like there's any descent, but you're just flying down, and the next thing you know, you're in Italy.
Yeah,
amazing.
It is. And if you look at Zermatt and you think, oh, it's just outside my budget, just look at Cervinia, because it's half the price and it's just as good in certain elements other than the town. But the ski area, the food's amazing in Cervinia.
You can't beat an Italian, obviously, but it was phenomenal.
And then I think probably yours is between that one and those runs around Les Menuires and Val Toren, I'm guessing. Yeah.
I love anywhere where you just feel like it goes on forever. I love a valley run. It's all very cute and quaint, But for me, having the width of the runs, knowing they just go forever and you can just fly.
Yeah, see, one reason I need to take Molly back to Zermatt or Chevinia, either one, is because I need to take her on the Val Toren run. So from the Matterhorn Paradise, you can go down and you can either ski to Chevinia or you can ski to Val Toren. And Chevinia is quite a big village, town, whereas Val Toren is just like a tiny little village. But the runs into Val Toren are significantly steeper, crazy wide, and it's the longest run in the world, and it's the most descent of a run in the world. But we didn't do it, unfortunately, because of different weather conditions and what other reasons. But when we go back there, I am going to take Molly on that, because it's the longest run in the world. There is no longer run than that, and it crosses 2 countries whilst you're doing it. The only thing is it takes about 2.5 hours to get back up, because the Italian side, the lift infrastructure is not like it is on the Swiss side. And then if you had to...
Oh, and on that note, just because I had kind of been scared a little bit before I went away about that crossing into Italy, I'd had some friends I know who were drilling it into me that I'd need my passport, and they were like, the police will be there and they'll check you crossing the border, whereas ads had done it much more recently than they had. For anyone watching this who is wanting to do that and it crosses your mind, you're fine. You don't need your passport.
The only way you know you're in another country is because of the odd flag and the fact your phone texts you and says welcome to Italy or welcome to Switzerland or whatever it is. And it's way cheaper on the Italian side. And then just say in your mind very briefly, if someone has to concentrate on one element of equipment, if we're talking about kind of like gear talk, if you like, what is the single most important element of gear that they need to get right, in your opinion? Boots.
Because we're going away in a few weeks and I need to go and get my boots sorted. Boots, 100%, because that is where all of your controllers. It's like feet. You feel like, what's happened to my feet? If they're too loose, your feet are sliding around, which has happened to me a lot. If your boots are too tight, which has happened to me a lot, you feel like your foot's going to drop off. Boots.
It's difficult. Even knowing how to do them up. Yeah, and goggles, Even knowing how to do them up and which ones can be loose and which ones need to be tight and this, that and the other is something you really want to look into. But I'm going to do a whole episode on boots because it's too much of a long conversation to fit into these. But again, please get decent, well-fitted boots. It doesn't matter if the boots cost £150 or £1,000. What matters is that they fit perfectly and continue to do so. On that note,
if you're looking into getting boots or you need to buy a new pair, can I personally recommend waiting till you actually get to your ski resort? Because I know these guys have had trouble in the past with boots being fitted over in the UK. I actually rented mine and then I bought when we were at the resort. And to be honest, all of the boot shops where you can buy your equipment, they will properly mould your foot, check that every
they do tend to be better. But even with that, there's levels. Like, for example, I've now been into, I don't know, let's say 10 different boot fitting places and also witnessed other people's. There's the real low level where they just don't care at all and they just selling you a pair of boots. Then there's the next step up where you get someone who has been on a training course and kind of knows what they're doing and does the best job possible and kind of cares. But then there is expert level people who can put you in a boot like that's way too small and shape it to fit your boot.
Like artwork.
Yeah, artwork. So in this country, Billy at Ski Bartlett is one of, I think, only 2 people in this country that are like off the chart world-class boot fitters. And I know someone else, Tim at Ulan Sport in Zermatt, who's another one. If you really care about having a pair of boots that are going to last you for literally years upon years upon years and not cause you daily grief, you've got to try and find someone who's of an extremely good level. And even if you have to travel to someone like Billy, it's over by Heathrow, it is well worth it because it will save you the weight in gold. Because the biggest thing that we ever hear between each other on this, not so much me now, but the others, is, oh, my toes are cold, my foot hurts, my shin hurts, my boot's loose, is it too tight, is it too... Like, it's just this world of things. But because I've been someone who's off the chart boot fitter, I don't have that anymore, and it makes the world of difference. So that is super important. And goggles, like Molly says. If it's a whiteout day and you've just picked a pair that look amazing because they're mirrored, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make sure you wear your goggles.
Yeah, wear your goggles.
I'm so bad, whether it's my reading glasses, sunglasses, my skiing goggles. I hate things on my face, so I always, top of my head, I learned the hard way when we were in the Three Valleys, and let me tell you, I've not made that mistake again.
No, definitely don't do it. Now, I am aware I've got some questions that people want answered, but I'm not going to put them in this episode. And I know I delayed them from the last episode as well, but I promise you I will do them in the next episode. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, contact me however you want. But the one about technology, I'm probably going to make a dedicated video on about tech in skiing. So I'll probably do that one on my own, so I can crack that video out on my own. Maybe that will be the next one, not too sure. Just trying to think if there's anything else. No, that's probably it. But yeah, massive thank you to Molly. Hoping very soon that we'll do the big Zermatt bumper episode with several of us, which hopefully will be quite interesting, fun and informative. But I will catch you all soon. Thank you for all the support and listening so far. Had a really lovely comment from a lady the other day saying her husband and her love to watch, which is really nice to hear. And we will catch up with you soon in another episode. Bye.